first-time buyer to purchase a home reach property?
No, you don't. You can actually be an existing homeowner to be able to buy a home reach property. Often you have somebody who's living in a 1-bedroom or 2-bedroom flat who can't afford to move up the ladder, and home reach could be the answer for them.
Perfect.
So Mel, could I sublet a room if I wanted to?
Absolutely, yes. You can sublet a room and take in a lodger if you've got room to do so in a home reach home. You just can't sublet the whole of the property.
So you can't rent the whole thing out?
That's right. So unless you buy the whole 100%, then
it's up to you what you do with it.
Exactly, you own all of it, so you can do that then. But
cool.
Yeah, while you're a shared owner, you can sublet a room, no problem.
And with you saying about buying the full 100% of the property, is that possible to do on a home reach property?
Absolutely. It's known as staircasing. So often people might buy a 40% share and they can afford to buy more shares later on. Normally when they remortgage, they might get their lender to lend them more money and they can buy more shares, therefore reducing the rental element and increasing the home ownership element.
Okay. And Jason, with regards to doing the staircasing, how does that work with a mortgage?
Yeah, there's a lot of mortgages out there in the marketplace at the moment that will allow you to staircase, which will allow you to borrow extra money. It's all dependent on a person's own individual circumstance, whether they've got the income and the right credit. But if that's allowed, then yes, certainly they can allow to buy extra percentage shares of the properties.
And it's worth bearing in mind as well, when someone staircases out to 100%, the shared ownership lease falls away, and so does the rent, and they become then responsible for insuring the building or the house. So,
can you decorate a home reach property? So, like if you
Absolutely. You are in fact a homeowner in every sense of the word, so it's up to you how you decorate your property. You don't need to ask permission to do so. The only times that people come back to us to ask for permission to carry out works is if they wish to add an extension or a conservatory, and again we would give our permission. We just want to ensure they've got the right
money on the property as well.
Exactly, and we need to know about that. We need to understand that they've added some value to the property. So yeah, it's all fine. You live in the home as if you own it 100%.
As if it is yours.
Yeah.
Are there costs involved with purchasing and monthly costs when you're complete on the property?
Do you mean when you buy it initially, or when?
Yeah, so what costs are incurred initially and once you've completed on the property?
Okay, so it's the same as buying a home in the traditional sense. You need to employ a lawyer to do the conveyancing for you, so you've got those legal costs and searches and disbursements. The other cost associated with home ownership is that you need to get the services of a financial advisor, and they often charge a fee for, or the lender will charge a fee for getting your mortgage for you. But there are no other costs. Obviously there are the costs associated with buying a home ownership through shared ownership, which are the mortgage you need to pay monthly, you need to pay your rent monthly, and then there's the admin or service charge for the property on its estate. And that's it really, they're your costs. But all of those costs are really set out really clearly before you even employ a lawyer, so that you're really clear on what your outgoings are going to be each month.
So Mel, could I sell my home if I wanted to?
Yes, so if you've purchased a home reach property and you need to sell it maybe to relocate for a job, a month later you can do that. So you sell it in exactly the same way as any property. However, with home reach you come back to us first and say, I wish to sell my property, and we will help you sell it. We've got an 8-week nomination period within the shared ownership lease to find you a buyer. If we fail to do that, then you're free to sell that property on the open market. What's really good about shared ownership, not just home reach but shared ownership across the country, is that you're able to sell the property in 2 ways. So let's say you own a 50% share of your home. When it comes to listing it with an estate agent, you would list it as a 50% purchase, but also as a 100% purchase. So the buyer who's buying 100% wouldn't even know about the 50% share you own. That all falls away and they buy the 100%. So what that means is there's two opportunities for you to sell your home, to someone who can afford just a share or for someone who can get a mortgage for the whole 100%. So it doubles your ability to sell your home.
Yeah, and that would be under your 8-week window as well?
That would be outside of the 8-week window, yeah.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Are the properties leasehold or freehold?
I'm glad you asked that, Sam, because there is a lot of information in the media about leasehold and freehold. So all shared ownership, regardless of whether it's a home reach property or anywhere else in the country, is always sold on leasehold, whether it's a flat or whether it's a house. Once you staircase to 100%, if it's a house, the lease falls away and you get the freehold. If it's a flat, obviously it will be always leasehold because all flats are leasehold. So it's only leasehold whilst it's a shared ownership home. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And what is the lease on these properties? Are they
All
different for all different ones, or are they all the same?
No, that's a really good question as well. So the shared ownership lease is not actually a halo lease, it's produced by the government. So Homes England produce a traditional shared ownership lease that we all have to use because lenders wouldn't lend if we didn't use that lease. And that lease is 125 years long.
And are there any costs or anything incurred with a leasehold property?
Certainly not from our side. Obviously, when you buy a property that's in a block of flats, you have service charges with flats, and that's for everyone in that block, whether they're a shared owner or a full owner, will have a service charge attached to it.
Yeah.
When you buy a house that's shared ownership, there's no service charge attached to it, although there is a building insurance that we as the landlord insure the building and recharge to you.
Okay.
But that's a buildings insurance you would need to get anyway.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Brilliant.
And I don't know if there was anything you
Yeah, from a
wanted to
mortgage
add
point
to
of view, obviously, if there's things such as ground rent and service charge at the time, or even the fee sometimes for maintaining the outside, they have got to be taken into account when it comes to affordability.
And that would be like a calculator
absolutely
as well.
right. Using the calculator that Mel spoke about, you build in those costs on there,
Okay.
and quite often, based on the type of property they are, the price that it is, it will give you a set figure and a set formula to use.
Yeah.
As we said, Homes England approved that and pushed that out for us to use.
Okay.
So that's how the calculation's then done.
What is the criteria for the eligibility to do the scheme?
Right, yeah, good question. So the first eligibility criteria is that you, to apply for home reach or part buy part rent anywhere, you have to be registered and approved by the Help to Buy agent.
Yeah.
And they will ask you some simple questions, but the main question they want to know is what your household income is. So inside London, your household income can be no more than 90,000 a year. Outside London, it mustn't be more than 80,000 a year. They will also check if you're a homeowner. You, as we mentioned before, you can be an existing homeowner that you're selling that property to buy a home reach. But if you own a home in Spain, you have to liquidate those assets. You can't be a homeowner.
Well.
Yeah, exactly right. You have to be home ownership free when you complete on a home reach property. The other eligibility is you have to be financially checked. We need to make sure you're affordable, and that's why the government produced an affordability calculator.
Just a quick question on that. Is that a cash purchaser and someone who would be looking to purchase with a mortgage?
Yeah, you both.
Everybody.
Everyone has to be financially assessed. We have to have a independent financial assessment done to ensure that you can afford it.
Brilliant.
Yeah, so that's really important.
Yeah.
And that's really it on the criteria. It's not that strict. It's not really stringent. It's very similar to the criteria that's used for Help to Buy equity loan, in fact.
Do you have to live in the area to purchase a property from?
With Home Reach, there is no criteria for that. Comes under a section 106 where their local authority may attach a local connection criteria. Generally with Home Reach, we don't buy properties through the section 106. So there won't be an eligibility in terms of local connection.
Yeah.
But some shared ownership does have local connection criteria attached to it.
Okay.
Is there like an age cap or anything like that on using Home Reach?
Absolutely not.
No, just
No, this
eligibility.
product's not ageist at all. So, in fact, you often find older people need to relocate because they want to be closer to grandchildren but can't afford to buy a property in that area. And shared ownership can certainly be the answer. So they could be an existing owner very far away, but in a much cheaper area, needing to move to a more expensive area, and Home Reach could be the answer for them.
So could people use their pensions or any sort of benefits or things like that if they want to use Home Reach?
Yeah, there are. Obviously, through the financial assessment, we will establish what's affordable, but certainly that's what happens with older people with pensions. And obviously, there's universal credit, and there's some elements of that that can be used to help to pay for your shared ownership home, and some that aren't. So again, a good financial advisor like Jason would be able to establish whether the scheme suits your needs based on your income.
Yeah, and with that they would have to provide proof of the
Absolutely
benefits.
right. Yes,
or anything
so
that they're
both
getting.
with age and also with those types of incomes, it comes down to the lender's criteria.
Yeah.
So we'd look to make sure that whatever income, up to whatever age the client had, we could best work that with the lender and with the affordability calculator. So they're all stress tests to make sure that it works not only now but in the future too as well.
Yeah.
So it's all future proofing.
Absolutely.
Perfect
Yeah.
time.
Yeah,
Perfect.
exactly right. And we want to make sure that we all sell homes to people that aren't in danger of ever losing those homes. You know, a really good affordability has been done, and they can afford the ongoing costs.
Yeah.
It's really important.
Okay,
Yeah.
brilliant.
Let's not face it, interest rates at the moment are lower than they've ever been before. So interest rates on mortgages are actually a lot lower than perhaps they will be in a few years' time.
Yeah.
So it's really important to ensure the stress test is there, to ensure, as we said, you know, they just not
things
only afford it
change.
now, but they can afford it in the future there as well.
Do the price or do the cost of the rent or anything like that go up per year, or when they do come to the end of their term on their mortgage?
Yes, so within the lease, it does actually structure when the rent goes up, and it goes up annually by RPI plus 0.5%.
Yeah.
This calculation is not created by us, it's actually created by Homes England, the government, and we can't then decide to put the rent up higher than that. It's actually structured
Specified
within the
on it.
lease, and the lease is created to protect the consumer rather than the landlord. So those protections in there, so you know exactly when your rent's going up and how much by each year.
With regards to your payments for rent and your mortgage, do they go out on the same day? Do they go out separately? What sort of, can you set them up to go out at the same time?
That's a good question. We allow buyers to set their rent to come out at the beginning of the month, and I would suggest that all buyers actually set them up to go out on the same day. You can do that. Most lenders want the first of the month usually, so you just get them set up to all come out on the same day. I certainly like doing that myself. Then I know what I've got what I've got to play with for the rest of the month. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay,
And I'd say also, we're talking a bit about costs and fixing costs. Obviously, you've got interest rates that can be fixed for a couple of years or 5 years. So, you know, cost at that time, then we review those again for you at that stage as well. So, yeah, we look at that again.
Would I be allowed to purchase a property, and are pets allowed in the properties?
Yes, is the simple answer.
Okay.
However, so if you've got a house, of course you can, not a problem. When it's a flatted property, we have to make sure that the freeholder allows pets, but generally they do. So the answer is yes.
So all household animals?
Yeah.
Okay, brilliant.
So what would you say to anybody thinking of using Home Reach?
I would say you should really consider it, particularly if you've got a low deposit and can't afford to buy on the open market. Home Reach could be the answer to home ownership for you.
I would also say with the changes coming up now and the Help to Buy rules, this gives an option for people that have had a property before to perhaps move themselves up the ladder and buy another new build property using the shared ownership scheme.
Thanks so much for watching today. We hope it's been really helpful. If you would like any information or assistance, please get in contact today.